Hello, and today I'm going to be going through how to properly make some modular camouflage like this on just a normal sort of fast helmet. Really, today I'm going to be focusing on camouflaging up this bit of the helmet here, so this bit, because it obviously, even though it's brown, it still reflects, and we do not want that. What we're going to be using here today is going to be this really big net. All of the stuff that you can get is probably going to round up to maybe about £20, or whatever it is, like the translation of currency, including postage if you can get the items for decent prices online or in a shop near you. So this is a British Army webbing scarf net thing. It's incredibly large, and I've got it strung up so I can more easily sort of view it and cut it up. Another piece of British Army gear, an olive sweat rag that I've cut up into little bits and crumpled up. Now, for this method, I glue everything to the base of the helmet. So, like, for example, as you can see here at the bottom of the mandible there, that's all glued to the actual chin bit. It's glued to the top. But what you can do is you can use something, for example, like a scrim net that you can buy online, like an elastic net, put that on top, and then maybe layer some of this on the underside of it, or some of this, really, and glue it to the bottom. And from that, you can have a good base of a removable thing, because this is not removable. So that's sort of the method that you'd be running off if you didn't want to have to glue it directly to like the base skull of the helmet. But obviously for this, I don't do that. So you'll just be running with this method. But just keep that in mind if you aren't, because I know some people like to keep the bottom part of the helmet in good condition as well. And last thing, material-wise, is a double-sided scrim net. I just bought this. It's like a 2x2 meter sort of net of scrim. Bought it off Amazon for about £5. Good stuff. And then I'm also using two types of glue, which would be fabric glue and just some normal sort of bog brand glue, just in one of these containers. The fabric glue helps if you want to get a really thick, nice layered sort of camouflage that I have set up. And the normal glue gets it stuck right onto the base, and that can dry pretty quickly. But other than that, I think that's really all I've got to go through before I start. So what the aim of, obviously previously said, is to camouflage this bit here, because I mean, as you can see, reflects light. We do not want that, because like, you've got all of the different sort of things for all of the rules for camouflage, where one of it is silhouette, one of its reflection, size, spacing, all that sort of thing, and we want to affect the silhouette and the reflection, which we're dealing with today, because this will disrupt sort of the way that everything moves, like the way that this looks, because this, I mean, maybe if it's in a bush, it might not look like a helmet. But obviously if it wasn't there, it might. But what I'm doing now is just cutting up some of this netting, and I'm using the thicker edge part of the netting that comes with it. I'll show you that in a second. And so this is the piece here, and this is really, really great for the applying sort of thing. Like, I've already sort of pre-measured it out. It'll be a bit oversized, so it might look something like that. And it'll sort of help to just cover it up. Now, I'm not going to put it here on top of there, because when the helmet's worn and you shake it around a little bit, I've just sort of uncovered this area. It'd normally fold over, but this part here does not get covered. Now, what I'll use for this, because obviously it's not gluing it straight down to fabric yet, I'm going to be using some of this basic glue. It does always require a lot of glue to do things like this, because of just making it stick and stay. If like, for example, if you're very, very active in your airsoft matches, you might, or whatever you're doing, you might want a pretty large amount of glue when you're attaching it. Just make sure, I mean, obviously it might get on your fingers, which is a bugger, but you've kind of got to let that slide. but I'm just going to let that set for 1 second. But I'll run you through what I'm also going to do. So I'm going to take some of this, because as you can see, it sort of falls out there, and we don't want that, because it kind of gives away thing. And it moves, but it also means that it's more likely to be maybe caught or snagged off by, let's say, a bush if you're going through it. What I do use for doing this, some people might want to use a multi-tool. What I use a pair of nail scissors. This is because it can just get through all of those really, really nice small bits of the fabric. And all it is really, it's eyeballing. You don't have to be precise, and that's sort of the magic of it. You don't want precise camouflage, because there's no straight lines really in nature, or nothing that's measured really, really well. So I'm going to use this to sort of plant this to the side of the helmet, but even though I've made a cut there that's straight at the end, I'll rip it, and it will just ever so slightly disrupt it, and that can just make all of the difference. I'm just going to swap back to my fabric glue, because I do not know how much I have left in my normal. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a nice little small pea-sized, maybe a bit more, and just drag that along the side there. And I'm going to plant it and attach it to the base of this helmet. Now, this is the way that I do it, but obviously I'm no grandmaster in camouflage making. I can just make it, and I have a lot of time to spare to do so. So if you feel like you could possibly improve on my ideas, I mean, be free to tell me or whatever you want to do. But yeah, you don't have to follow this step by step. This is just what I do, and I end up with stuff like this. Now, another important thing, as I mentioned, no straight lines in nature, but there's also, you have to watch out with symmetry, because, yeah, that's basic camouflage right there. That hides it. It does its purpose, but obviously when it's covered up like that, it doesn't really work too well. So what you're going to do, what I'd like to do at least, is I get some of these rags that I've cut up, maybe cut in some little slats into it, and then rip them, and it gets these nice sort of uneven tear marks, if you will. I'm just going to do a few whilst I'm talking, and that helps to, when you attach them later on, it just helps to disrupt the general shape of the helmet. I mean, if you get a real big one, cut it up, do whatever you want with it, as I'm going to do, but it's all up to you. It is modular, after all. And you can get big pieces, small pieces, and it just helps to, later down the line, it'll help in general. And the camouflage that I'm putting on might not look like it'll perfectly blend into the surroundings, because it hasn't been really used much, whereas the stuff on the top, that's been run through a lot of dirt. It's been worn. Actually, a good tip that I've been told is to break it up and rub it through some dirt, maybe. So that's probably what I'll do after I finish this video. I'll go outside into my back garden, get it in the grass, shake it around a little bit, make sure it doesn't come off, but also to basically fix in the camouflage into the rest of the head. What I've done now is I've got some scrim netting, and I'm going to cover up, like I might look at a light, if I see an area, I'm going to put that on like that. And because I've ripped it up, and it's not just the same overlaying pattern, which can sometimes be caught out, it's this ripped up pattern, and you get all of these nice sort of little tufts off of the edges, which can help disrupt your sort of image, maybe from the side, maybe from the front. It's all about disruption. That's the name of the game with camouflage, really. I am intentionally missing the attachment points for my mandibles, whilst also trying to cover it up. As you can see there's the lock pin there. I mean, it's not in detail really, or as really in depth as you can go with your camouflage, such as I said, the top. This is it's thick. There's no way in hell you're seeing the bottom, even if you attempt to move it, because I've got like layers of this attached to the top of it. I've got layers of this sort of bunched up. That's another thing that you can do actually, that I'll probably do later. You can bunch up netting, you can bunch up your scrim, attach that, and it just helps to really make it not stand out, not pop, you know. I mean, I'm gonna add some more, but you can already see it's kind of starting to come together. I'm gonna add these ripped up pieces that I put, and I try not to make them as secure as possible, only on a little small piece, maybe around the back, and I'll have most of the overhang coming off the side of the helmet that helps move about really, but it won't rip off because it's nice and placed in. So I'll just do that now. If there is anything else that you'd like to see, because I do camouflage on things like guns as well, just ask and I'll get that up eventually when I have the time. What I'm also going to be doing pretty soon is I'm actually going to be spraying down the goggles that I use, because the mandible doesn't allow the goggles on my head to come up from underneath it. So I'm going to be spraying it to make sure that it doesn't stand out around the rest of the helmet. But yeah, no, this has been a sort of a work in progress for me. I've been developing the camouflage on this helmet for a while, working on the brows of the helmet, all that sort of thing, and really just making it all come together. What I've just done there, attached some of the camouflage to the actual rest of the helmet there, as you can see, making sure that overlays with it, because you want that good sort of overlap. It's really, really nice to see with your camouflage pieces. Now, just as a little finishing thing, because I could layer it on, really that's how you would get a really, really good sort of camouflage. You layer it on, you maybe bunch up some of this, put it on, you get some of the scrim net, you attach that, bosh, you get some of this netting, put that on top, you get more of that, you get more of the, that's just how you get a really sort of great compact camouflage. And even though it's on a small bit of the helmet, with enough time and effort, you can really make it work over the entire thing. It's just really about being patient with it and just letting it grow effectively, because I mean it might not look like much until the finished product, and that's really what it's all about. The finished product's really what it's all about. As much as the journey, I guess, can be good, you just want damn good camouflage that makes sure you won't be seen. Now, I'd say that's a pretty decent job there. That's the area that I camouflaged there, and it's able to blend in with the rest of the helmet reasonably well, as you can see. There's not really a sign that that's there. Maybe some of that might be there, but that's just due to lack of overhang that I'll probably add in a little bit, or just to make sure that it doesn't overlap. But yeah, because, well, the issue is with this bit, if I take that off, it might cause some issues with the mandible, but I'll likely add maybe this hard piece, the thick piece from the netting, maybe attach it here and it'll drapes over, which will do a really good effect. I'll do that now, just to sort of show you how different ways of it can really be done. But yeah, I mean, that's how you can cover up a. Also, what you can do is you can always, it might take a bit longer, or you might need a bit more skill, but you can always paint it maybe with some like model paint, you can just run over the top of it with just a little bit of just run over it with some model paint, really, and you can almost paint on your own camouflage. I'm not a very good painter, so that's just not something that I would try, but if you do like your paintings, you can always give it a shot. That's just a really sort of quick thing. I'll probably add on to it when the video's over, but I'd say that's a pretty decent camouflage. I've covered up the piece that I originally wanted. I've identified something that maybe wasn't up to standard, and I've made sure that it doesn't pop and sort of take away from the rest of the camouflage. Now, obviously to the front as well, heavy with camouflage. You want brow here to cover up any brown camouflage, because the printed camouflage that you might get with the other stuff, with like just a store-bought helmet, like this was originally a store-bought helmet that I've just added on to, might not be suitable to your conditions. Now, you can basically do this with anything. Like, you can buy desert rags if you live in a more dry area. You can find these, but yellow, black, if you, depending on what purpose you want to do it for, nighttime disruption camouflage, anything. And yeah, that's really the core of this. And also always remember, it is glue, so you do kind of have to watch out for the safety concerns. Always let it air out at the end if you're using a large amount of glue or any amount of glue. That's how you make your modular helmet camouflage. I hope this helps.